Longlegs is a brand new horror film directed by Oz Perkins that has kind of taken the internet by storm. It is a complete surprise viral hit that seemingly everyone is seeing this weekend due to the creative marketing that this film has had, but also just a general word of mouth from early screenings. This has been described one of the scariest movies in the past few years. And so it's impossible to talk about this film without talking about the high expectations that it has set for itself. And I do dislike that I have to start there, but it feels like every review I've seen from Letterboxd, TikTok, YouTube, wherever it may be, always starts with that, clarifying that this is not the scariest movie you have ever seen, maybe not even the scariest film of the year. And I think that's unfortunate that this film has to live up to that expectation, which of course is in part due to its own marketing. So was it successful in getting people to the theater? Absolutely. Will there be some people that are initially disappointed because it doesn't live up to those expectations? Absolutely. And that's something that I have personally tried to combat over the past few years. To try to go into films with a fresh perspective despite having seen trailers or even early opinions on the films. I think the people that will go into this film fresh with zero expectations will have a better experience. Because what this movie gives is pretty great. The central plot revolves around this crime mystery where we're following FBI agents trying to track down a serial killer. The inspiration is very heavily from movies like Silence of the Lambs, Zodiac, Seven, and in my opinion, it's my favorite type of inspiration because there's no hiding that clearly this movie is borrowing a lot of themes and ideas from those films, but it also is aware enough to know when to kind of twist the expectations of what we expect from those tropes. And in fact, I would argue this film has a lot more to say about the tropes themselves rather than the actual case of trying to find who did it. This film stars Maika Monroe, Blair Underwood, and of course Nicolas Cage, which I will also say, depending how you feel about his performance in this film, will determine how you feel about the film overall, because anytime he comes on screen, the tone of the film completely changes. And I've always been a strong Nicolas Cage defender, especially in his recent years where it feels like he is willing to try everything and give it his all. And so I personally found his performance in this film kind of fun. But for people who are going in expecting the most horrific experience they've ever had and see the goofy character that he is playing, it can definitely come across a little off-putting. So what can you expect from this film? I'm not the first one to mention, but there is this overall sense of dread throughout the entire runtime, and you can feel it from the intense score that's playing in the background to the looming long takes where we see the camera kind of hone in on just one single shot where we are seeing a character do things, but there is this specific attention drawn to the background of every single shot where you're constantly questioning, is there something happening there? Am I supposed to be seeing this? And so the horror isn't necessarily through jump scares or specific things happening on screen. In fact, much of the horrific events that take place in the film happen off screen, but it's really well done because it gives you enough information of what has happened that it just kind of lingers in your mind throughout the entire film. And to me, I think that is one of the most horrific things a film can do, is leave you with enough imagination to fill in the blanks. The first hour or so of this film kind of is a slow burn because we are really just spending time with this FBI agent trying to figure out what is going on. And this is definitely the type of film that if you were to pick apart the details of the mystery that's being solved, you can probably find a lot of plot holes within it. But once we get to the end and then conclusion and the overall theme that this movie is trying to tell you, I think it works quite well and is something beautiful. It really hones in on the emptiness that can be a suburban lifestyle and really focuses on the family dynamic. Specifically, who you can even trust, whether it be your coworkers, your friends, your own parents. This film even does a great job questioning our obsession with serial killers or true crime. And it's done in a very unique way that does add these elements of satire, again, specifically through the character of Nicolas Cage. And so I do think this film is worth watching, but I can see why people aren't going to get the most out of it. It walks this very fine line of being semi-realistic to this absurd fantasy, where the themes are there, but nuanced, covered with humor and unique styles of filmmaking that I think a general audience probably would describe as pretentious, which is a word I hate using when criticizing film, but I think the fact that this film has reached a large, broader audience, there are going to be people that want just a standard horror film and will be let down when the pacing doesn't quite match what they're expecting. And I don't want to just paint this all as if you don't like this film, it's because your expectations were in the wrong place, because like I said, this is an imperfect film and there are elements of it that can be justifiably criticized, but for the most part, it all worked for me. The tone was eerie enough that any inconsistencies that I probably could search for, I didn't mind. I think the acting is great. It especially helps if you enjoy Nicolas Cage. And for a low-budget horror film, I'm just incredibly grateful that it is going to make a decent amount of profit. So those are some of my thoughts on the film Longlegs. I would love to hear your thoughts if you have seen the film. So if you've seen it, please comment below, and I will see you next time.